Okay, and we are live. Thank you so much, Sarah, for joining me today on this conversation on my Facebook page.
You are very welcome. Thanks for asking me.
No worries, no worries. And in case some people are listening to this and thinking, why is Alison, a virtual assistant, asking someone who's a nutritional coach and CrossFit trainer onto her Facebook page? It's because I did a challenge with Tiny Life, the charity in Northern Ireland, in June, and it was all about health and well-being and sort of, trying to get into healthier habits. And Sarah was the person who who was our sort of coach during those 4 weeks. And we had a WhatsApp group, and she gave us loads and loads of advice on fitness and sleep and nutrition. But a lot of that was to do with making healthy habits. And I think there's a big parallel between having those healthy habits in your life and being a healthy business owner, but also about how important it is to make habits as a business owner from a sort of day-to-day efficiency point of view. So that's why I'm invited Sarah along today. We're doing this live, so if you have any questions, please do pop them just under the video as we go along, and we'll hopefully be able to see them and answer them. And if you're watching the replay, if you just put the hashtag replay under the video, we'll come back to you later on if you have any burning questions. And of course, Sarah, I'll put a link with all of Sarah's social media posts under this video as well today, and then you can contact her directly as well. So thank you so much, Sarah, for joining me live today. And is there anything, do you want to just start with what you think is important from a habit point of view?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, picking up on your point there about the connection between what I do on a daily basis, supporting individuals and groups with their nutrition and fitness goals, it does connect really well across to all areas, I think, of life. I do find that particularly when we've got a big goal ahead of us, whether it's a physical fitness one or otherwise, that sometimes they can be quite overwhelming. And actually, I feel that they can also feel wrapped up in sort of mystery, actually, as well as about how on earth does one go about attacking these goals. And by drilling down, I suppose, and looking at the habits, which really are what we do on a daily basis, we can start to get a handle on how small actions accumulate, really, and become the success that we're looking for. And it's easy to be motivated about something at the beginning. We can get excited, we can get, have huge amount of optimism around perhaps a vision that we've got, whether it's for our business, whether it's in the fitness realm as well. And perhaps we've been inspired by someone we know, or perhaps someone on the TV even. And we can get motivated and want to start something, but actually it's very rarely that motivation that enables us to finish the task or accomplish the goal, because that motivation doesn't hang around forever. It becomes less exciting as the weeks go on, even if we still really want to do the thing. And actually it becomes discipline. And a commitment to the project that sees you through. And, if I do compare that to my own experience of, wanting to achieve certain level of performance, say in my gym work, perhaps if it's around a physique goal I might have, or a health goal in relation to my nutrition, there's no doubt that there are a number of days where I would rather do the less beneficial thing. I'd rather eat the less nutritious thing, or I'd rather skip a session or whatever it might be. But more days than not, I make the choice to stick at it because I've got the commitment and the discipline now. And so by bringing it back to those habits and thinking, what can I do each day that's going to steadily keep me on track? That really for me is where the success comes,
Yes.
And, we know that famous quote about we are what we repeatedly do. So if we're repeatedly doing small, good, positive things towards whatever our goals are, then we're going to be getting there more steadily, I think.
Yes. And I think even with the challenge that I did with yourself for Tiny Life, like before I started that, and the reason I started that was because I'd got really heavy, and I was the heaviest I've been in a long time. And I felt awful. I just felt awful, and I didn't feel very sexy. And I thought, we're coming into the summer. I'm going to have to be, de-layering.
Yeah.
I want to feel good. And it was really funny because, you had advice as to, download my fitness pal and things like that. And I did that. And it was only when I was daily tracking what I was eating that at the start I realized, well, I was obviously eating far too much.
Yeah.
And it was the first thing, of course, and that I was eating far too much sugar and fat. But the habit of actually getting into that, of tracking every day, and then by the time it came to tea time, I knew, sort of how many calories I'd left, and
Yes.
had a better idea of what I could or couldn't eat.
Yeah.
And that is a habit now. And then, and it was because we did that for 28 days, and I've still got the app. I've actually paid for the year subscription now, because I thought that's a really good habit to be in. Every day I am tracking, and I'm not totally off kilter going,
Yes.
oh, I think I'm being really good. But actually, like, I was eating raisins morning, lunch and tea time. It's like, oh, here's the good raisins. And then you go, well, the raisins maybe aren't that good for you.
That's it. But you see, there are so many myths, if you like, out there in the fitness industry, if you like, and it's certainly in the diet industry, around allowing us to sort of, not quite, but allowing us to believe. But there's a sort of a mask sometimes around some of the stuff that masquerades like as a healthy option. Okay.
Yeah.
And that we sometimes think, well, hang on a minute, no one thing is healthy and no one thing is unhealthy, so it's just about getting that balance. And once you've sort of dialed into the calories, if weight loss or if muscle gain, whatever your goal is, if you understand the calorie needs of your body at the outset, you're flying, because once you've tapped into that, you're on the sort of path of least resistance at that point, because it's not that you're making it up every day and thinking, well, I ate this and this and this, and those are healthy foods. Well, they all have calorific content as well, and have an impact on your daily energy use and needs. So it's about getting a way that enables you to get a handle on that information, and so you can do something with it. I think I'm not naturally a heavy routine person. Some people naturally really like having routine and repetition and stuff like that, and that's cool. That doesn't come naturally to everybody, and I think it can probably, in the first instance, feel quite suffocating, something like counting calories for a lot of people. I've worked with lots of individuals who, when I've said, have you thought about My Fitness Pal? And they think, oh, no, I don't want to weigh everything. I don't want to measure everything. I get that. I do get it. But actually, it's not as tying as you think. It's actually liberating, because it means I'm in control. It means I understand what I'm eating. I understand how it balances, and am I getting a bit of everything? And it sort of enables you to make choices rather than sort of keep your head in the sand,
Totally.
And so I think it's actually an added sort of string to your bow in many ways, and sort of just gives you more information to base your decisions on. Certainly from a personal experience of working with people, My Fitness Pal is a brilliant way of using, or a brilliant way of creating some routine around food, even if you just do it for periods of time and understand, what you're eating and what's coming in and what's going out, so to speak.
Because I know with clients as well that I often recommend that people use like time tracking tools like Toggle and Toggle out from the start. And it's the same idea that you sort of track how much time you're spending on marketing, how much time you spend on client time, on networking, and it brings up a report at the end of the week, so you can actually look at the end of the week and go, okay, I had, maybe
Yeah.
that you were networking for like, 50% of your time and not actually doing very much client work,
Yes.
and it actually
Yes.
makes you look at it and go, okay, well, maybe there's something a wee bit off balance here, and I have to look at what I'm doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Same
That's
idea.
really powerful, really
Yeah.
powerful. And I'm guessing as well that quite a lot of people, when that's suggested to them, their first thought is, well, I haven't got time to do that. I need to
Yes,
do
exactly.
stuff. And
Exactly.
actually, we sometimes get sort of, we get that sense that unless I'm doing the actual revenue generating work, let's say, that these other things over here aren't important, but
Yeah.
actually those sorts of things, understanding how we're using our time, understanding how we're using calories, eating
Yeah.
calories, burning calories, whatever it might be, those are all things that oil the cogs.
Yeah.
Those are the things that enable, it's like taking your car for an MOT, isn't it? It's like, is the machine working? The
Yes. Yeah.
machine has to work,
Yeah.
because there's no point doing the networking over here if you're not turning it into actual
True.
work.
Yeah.
Yeah. So actually, if you don't understand and take that time out to observe it all, it's impossible to improve and move it on, because you don't know
Yeah.
where to start.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
And I think that the health of your body is like that. Obviously it's like that as well. You have to look at everything. It's just not what you're eating. It's about the eating and what you're
Yeah.
exercising and how that affects your sleep and the whole wheel of things, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. So many people think that if, let's say, they have a fat loss goal or a fitness goal, that it's about chugging away at the gym.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, that's part of it, of course. Certainly, if your goal is about a fitness related thing, you don't always have to have a gym focus or an exercise focus for fat loss. But you need to understand, well, what is it you're trying to achieve? And
Yeah.
therefore, what sorts of exercise, what sorts of movements, where should you be focusing your efforts? But you've also got to remember that it's not just about doing that work, it's about resting.
Yeah.
Our body develops muscle, for instance, at rest. It's not when we're doing the work, it's when it's repairing itself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So how do you rest? How do you relax? How do you manage your stress levels? And again, that comes back to habits. So do you make time for these things? Do you make time to rest and relax away from the day-to-day work?
Mm-hmm.
Are you spending hours at the gym and then rushing on to the next thing? Do you go to bed at a reasonable time each night consistently and get a certain number of hours sleep? All those things contribute to our well-being and contribute to the achievement of that goal. It's not just one thing. And then you've obviously got your nutrition angle, which is, you hear the phrase that you can't outrun a bad diet. You've got to keep it nice and balanced, get the things in that you need. And if you're trying to build muscle, make sure you're meeting your protein targets and getting good carbohydrates in and things like that. So yeah, there's lots of different areas, and certainly one of the things that I try to encourage my clients to think about is, what are the habits that will help them get to those goals? Let's break down whatever the goal is and say, right, well, how does our exercise and fitness aspect contribute to this goal? How does our food contribute to this goal? What about our rest and relaxation and sort of general well-being contribute? And then what things do we need to do on a weekly basis or a daily basis or perhaps a monthly basis? And let's keep a tracker, and it'll look slightly different for everybody, depending on the goal and all of that. But I guess it's like anything, you take a big task and you break it down, and then you
Exactly.
say, right, what do I do each day that can keep me going on this, and where do I allow myself to get distracted as well, because I'm good at distracting myself.
I think we all are.
So spot where those are habits that perhaps we might want to try and work on too, and aren't always the positive ones. But
like my raisins.
That's it. But it's trial and error too sometimes, and having that moment to look in, like you were saying, that sort of reviewing how you spend your time is having that opening our eyes to some self-awareness around how we work. And is this the best route? Am I taking the path of least resistance, or am I making it harder for myself?
Because I think it's very important what you said there about, about breaking everything down, and to have those, the daily, the weekly, sort of monthly habits. Because I can see that, like, the classic example of people who leave like their self-assessment return like to the night before. But if every week you were going into your, you had your online accountancy package, and you were reconciling your accounts once a week, and you had a date every month that you send out your invoices, and that you have other monthly checks, that it isn't a big surprise, so that you're on top of your finances the whole year, and it's not this massive surprise at the end. Oh my goodness! Well, first of all, I have to do everything, in a few days. And then you go, oh, look, I was actually spending loads of money on something that I didn't need to be, or I wasn't getting that money in on time. And it's about making those little, just to have, as you say, the weekly, sort of monthly, and to make the time to plan, to be planning all of that.
That's it. Absolutely. And to be able to get a handle on what's urgent and what's important, and are there things that cross both? Is it urgent and important? Well, is it urgent because I left it, or is it urgent because things happen, don't they? They come in and they need to be dealt with. So how do you manage it so that your workload is very rarely the urgent work, because those are few and far between things that are surprises. How much of your urgent work is urgent because you left it? And then how much of your urgent work is actually important? If you're working on urgent, unimportant work, then you've sort of got to think, well, what is this? If you've got some stuff that's really important and not urgent, that's probably where you want to be, where most of your focus wants to be, isn't it? That you're managing it in such a way that you're not stressed by it. So and identifying those distractions which can fall into the unimportant, urgent, or unimportant, not urgent, and sort of try to steer yourself away from those and more onto the stuff that's really value giving to what you're doing.
Sorry.
No, you're good.
I think that sometimes the non-important things are things that you really love doing, aren't they?
Yeah.
It's like scroll on Facebook to see what's happening, sort of thing, and then you're just down this whole rabbit hole that what does it bring you? Probably very little.
That's it. That's exactly it. And you think, why did I just spend that time doing that? I'm bad for it too, and I all of a sudden go, how long was that? And it's like, right, come on, keep focused. And it is that constant reminder to yourself, isn't it? And saying, right, come on, let's keep on track. And quite often it's quite the opposite of sexy, isn't it? Those things. It's a bit humdrum and probably not the things that we kind of want to do or want to be seen to be doing, but even if we can allocate a little bit of time each day to those things, it's a bit like, the whole thing of making your bed as soon as you get up, or before you leave the house or something. You've done something that day, you've achieved something already, and you've left something looking nice that when you come back home, it's it feels like a nice space to be in. And that only takes a minute. So finding what the equivalent things are of making your bed in the morning, and having the time slot for them too, is is good. One of the I wonder whether I should try to share can I try and share something with you?
Yes, go ahead, yes.
Let's have a
Just
little.
a reminder to anybody, I can see there's some people watching, that you can ask us any questions if you want. If you just post, we will be able to see them.
That's it. Screen share. Share screen. Okay. Just going to go with screen.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully it'll pop up.
I don't see anything yet. Did you?
Let's see. Click to share. Can you still hear me?
Yes, I can. Yeah, I can't see anything.
No, I can't see that yet.
No, I can't see it. No.
That's okay.
Technical. There's always little technical challenges, isn't there?
Yeah, that's all right. I'm going to have one more. Let's see, Chrome tab. I'm going to have a little try at this. That's okay.
Yeah.
I can eat. It's not something complicated, so I can talk you through it if it's not popping up.
Oh, yes, I can see it now, I think. Let's see. Yes, there we go. Yes, perfect.
Can you see me scrolling down?
Yes, yep.
Lovely. Okay, so this is a really simple document that I use for people. This one is particularly aimed at someone who has a goal of reducing their fat stores. Okay. And we break it down into some weekly and daily habits. Okay, so it's just keeping it really simple, but the concept works with whatever your goal. Okay, so here we've got the person would understand that they've got a certain number of calories that they're wanting to aim for. Okay, and we'll have identified some different meals and types of foods that are good for them to include. We're looking out across protein, fat, carbohydrates, for instance. So what you can see here is we've identified some habits for a weekly basis. Okay, so we'll make sure we've got an idea of what our meals are going to be throughout the week. Okay, the whole concept of that being that if we plan ahead, then we've got much more chance of being successful, because it's quite often when we don't plan ahead, we find ourselves reaching for convenience foods. We nip into the shop when we're hungry. We end up buying the thing that we sort of say to ourselves, you know what, I probably shouldn't be doing this. So let's get planned up front. Sunday evening, let's sort out the weekly meal planner. Let's build our shopping list based on it, so we don't go blind round the supermarket buying all the things that are on offer and the things that take our fancy.
Yes.
Yeah, we've all done that, and we all do it to a certain extent. It's nothing more dangerous than going shopping hungry. Then if you're going to go and do your shopping, or you order your shopping, get that done. And then also think ahead. So are there going to be any things in the week that are going to make it a bit difficult for me with my goals? Have I got a birthday party coming up? Am I expected to go out for a work lunch? Those kinds of things. And then let's think about them beforehand. Say, right, I am going to make sure that if on a day where I'm going out for a work lunch, I'm going to allow myself a glass of wine, and that's it. Maybe I'm going to make some slightly different choices of things that I'm going to have with my, as my meal. Small choices, just some tweaks and some ideas in your head of how you're going to approach it when you get there. That's all we need to do. We don't need to sort of over egg it, but have a think about it. And then say to yourself, well, actually, if there are some things that I can't avoid, then I'm going to make some adjustments on the days or the meals around that meal. And then that helps you still come in around where you need to be. Get your exercise planned for the week. Quite often, that's something that we'll do if we've got time. And frankly, that's not the discipline enough to achieve the goal. We need to say, this is when it's happening. I'm committing to myself and to my goal, and other things will need to work around it too. Yeah, sure. There are times in life when stuff happens. That's cool. But if we say at the beginning of the week, this is when it's happening, not I'll see if I feel like it on a Tuesday, then there's a lot more chance of that it's going to happen. And equally, identifying time in the calendar for relaxation, that's a big one. It's not a sort of collapse on the sofa. It's, what am I going to do that I actually enjoy? Have I got some nice leisure hobbies, things that I enjoy that allow me to relax and really have quiet time for myself. So those are some key ones for the week. And then I'm just scrolling down here. Can you still see things okay?
Yes, yep.
So then these are some daily ones. Again, they'll be different for everybody, but super simple chart you can see there. And we've just got a variety of habits down the side, and we can tick or jot something in each day. So for this particular one, have I got my calories in check that day? Have I hit my protein target? Okay. Have I made sure I've eaten a variety of fruit and vegetables and taken in plenty of water or fluids? How many minutes am I getting in of exercise or movement each day? And the same for some sort of relaxation as well. Obviously, I've got my work time in there, which I think is important to log, because some of us perhaps work way more than we would like to. And I think that probably comes back to, Alison, what you were saying earlier on about getting an idea for how your day comes out, how does it portion out? But also we find a lot of fulfillment in our work. And so I don't want people to see it as the enemy. This is part of our lives. And particularly if we run our own business, it's probably something we really like and are passionate about. So, it's a valid part of our day in our life. And then bedtime. Are we consistently getting to bed at the same time, or at least within, say, half an hour? It's a good idea. And how many hours of sleep are we getting? So there are some really simple habits there. Some of them, would be really very, very easy to jot down and maybe not even need to think about.
Yes.
But you can see just by having something like that you print out each week, or you just jot in a book, or perhaps you've got an app to use, and can put them in. It's it kind of just keeps you remembering them, and just keeps the focus.
Totally. And I think, did you say, how many days does it take to make something a habit? Is it 20?
Some people say it's about 21. About 21, to make or break a habit. I actually have a little package called the Habit Breaker, which is a 21-day real intense focus on getting some habits embedded, some positive habits. Yeah. And but certainly, if you can commit yourself to saying, right, I'm going to do this for 3 weeks. And, sometimes there are things that take a bit longer than that to stick, but I think you'll find there'll be a good couple there that will feel natural by the end of it,
Yeah. And it was funny because, like, this year when I had actually got so heavy, and I was thinking back, okay, well, what was I doing differently in summer last year? Because actually it was really weird that at sort of July time last year, I was the fittest and the lightest that I've ever been. And I was thinking, well, what was I doing different? And then I thought, well, every day I went out because, in lockdown 1.0, whatever they called it, and you were only supposed to do so much exercise a day. And I then thought to myself, every morning I was going out for a walk really, really early. No, I went out for a cycle actually really early because, that period that was very hot as well. I went out for a cycle. I used to go out for a cycle again at 4 o'clock every day because I had so many Zoom calls in the evening that I had to have a break away from the screen. So I was doing it every day, maybe having a walk around the village because it wasn't very many places to walk around where I lived. There were sort of, which were nice. I was doing that every day. I was not drinking any alcohol at all. I wasn't eating any chocolate because I kind of thought, well, I just can't be bothered to go to the shop to get any chocolate because it was such a chore. And I was doing all those things, and I was totally in the habit of that. And I was doing then loads of exercise. I was up the mountains like for weeks and weeks, maybe twice a week. And when you're actually in that, and I felt super, And then I thought to myself, well, I've stopped all of those things. I stopped all of that.
Yeah.
And once you get back in, you think, once you actually start that again, it is hard at the start. And then it just becomes very easy, and you want to go out and you want to eat healthily, and you want to do as much exercise as you can.
That's it. And
When it's not so hot. Yeah.
Yeah, but it does feel hard at the start. It does, because, as much as sometimes habits are difficult to establish, we're also creatures of habit. So
Yeah.
changing the habits we've already got, even if they're not necessarily all good for us,
Yeah.
can be really difficult to move away from. And, there are also some elements of them that are comforting. If you think about chocolates and, comfort eating and things like that, they play quite big role in a lot of our lives. Food is very much not just a fuel for human beings. We celebrate with it, we commiserate with it, we fill time, we do it when we're bored or stressed, or there's so many things, and many of which are very complex, and so that can feel like quite a big habit to change in the first instance. But actually, what a lot of people find is when you start to look at it, you can actually make a big change with just making a few small tweaks. It doesn't have to be a big arm swipe, right? Don't do any of that anymore, we're going to start afresh. Sometimes people feel good doing that, but coming back to my point earlier is that you can feel motivated about that for a while, and then you start looking in the bin where you've just swiped everything and think, well, actually that was quite good. So you're much better saying, right, this is what I do at the moment, I'm going to pick this thing and this thing and cut it down, or this thing and this thing and swap it for something else, and so you make small adjustments, and from there it can really make a big change ultimately. It can really accumulate, and thinking about it from a habit in a business perspective, identify the things that you're not particularly good about, or feeling a bit bogged down by, whether it's managing your inbox, or, managing new leads for business, or networking, or whatever it is, and say, right, well, this is something that I know is holding me back, or this is something that I'm allowing myself to get in my own way here, and just do one small thing. And I reckon you could see quite a good benefit from
Totally.
making a small change.
Totally. And I have a friend, funny, I was talking to her the other day, who's very, very creative and has a very creative job, and really hates admin and all that stuff that makes the wheel turn.
Yes.
And she actually phoned me one night last week, and she said, I've got, you're always banging on about planning and sitting down and making time and planning out your week and what you have to do. And she needs a lot of resources to go to take classes and things face to face now as well. And she said, I took out a notebook and I've planned my week. And she said, it's life-changing. She said, it's life-changing. I said, I know. And it was that simple fact of, and she said normally, because she has quite small kids, and there's 2 nights where they're not with her. And she said, I'm going to start doing this at the start, like on a Tuesday night when they're not here, instead of watching crappy, something crappy for like half an hour. I'm going to sit and do this for half an hour. And then my week is going to be so much less sort of chaotic because I've 30 minutes out.
Yeah, that's it. It does make such a difference, and planning your training sessions, planning what you're going to eat that week. It doesn't need to be super fine details, but if you've got the bare bones of something, then the important stuff's going to get done, and something, you're not going to allow something to come in and knock it out the way. Definitely. It does make a really big difference, and actually, again, a lot of people find that just by deciding what they're going to eat that week before they go shopping, not only are they going to tick off all their nutrition markers, in terms of getting all their fruit and veg, getting their protein in, and good sources of various vitamins and nutrients, and vitamins and minerals, they're probably going to be in a better place to manage their calories. They're going to feel that making meals is not stressful. They're going to find food shopping not stressful. They might even find food shopping cheaper because they're just going to go and buy the things they need, not the stuff they just happen to be fancying that, you know, is marketed at us. Yeah. So there are lots of benefits of just sitting down and having that moment of, right, what does the week look like in whatever form.
I have Martin Gilchrist is on. It has a question for us. Martin is actually my accountant, and so I don't know if he heard the part about me telling people to reconcile their accounts regularly. But he said this reminds him, this conversation, that he needs to get back into his walking habit. So that's a good point. And he says, can Sarah suggest some good work habits that self-employed people should work on? So
thinking about it from my own point of view. Thanks for your question, Martin, and great to have you here. So some things that I do, because I suppose in some ways what we're talking about today, my topics kind of are interwoven, because my health and fitness as a personal thing is also woven into what I do for a living too. But I find that absolutely sticking to my own training routine is very important for me, so that I know I am still going to be getting that headspace away from the admin side of my work. Let's say a lot of my work is face-to-face and working with people, but there is a lot of desk-based stuff too. Making sure I've put that time in. I know that might sound counterintuitive when we're talking about work habits, but that is a very important one, because it's very easy when you run your own business to put your own personal needs at the bottom of the agenda. And I don't think that makes you necessarily in your best place, or in your best self, let's say, for doing your work. So definitely keep focused on that. I try, certainly on a Sunday. So when I was talking there, thinking about planning the meals for the week ahead, that kind of thing, I also then sit and have my plans for the week. So I think about any programming that I'm doing for my classes that week, make sure I've got that dialed in if I haven't done that already. Make sure that I'm aware of any of my meetings that are coming up, put in all my classes that I'm coaching throughout the week. So again, it's that sort of bare bones on a Sunday that I can look out across the week, see where I've got some free time, particularly at the minute with the children off of school. I'm sort of thinking, right, how do I juggle, doing stuff with them too, so they feel like they're having a summer holiday and not just sort of following me around, doing my work. So those are big ones. What else would I say habit-wise? So we run a gym. We run a CrossFit gym, Benmore CrossFit, as well as our nutrition part of the business. And there are lots of tasks in running that gym as well. So I talked about the programming part already, which I suppose is, the sexier part, the bit that's, about the very practical, how we're developing our athletes and our members. And then we've got the actual delivery itself. But for those things to work well, we've got to do a lot of sort of boring things. We've got cleaning the gym. We don't have someone doing that for us. So keeping on top of keeping that ship shape looking good, fresh and clean, obviously, particularly with the pandemic, that's been a big thing going on. Keeping an eye on stocking up in the kitchen, in the toilet, and keeping bins emptied, and all those things that are real small, not exciting tasks, but having time slots for those kinds of things too. And actually, more often than not, they don't take as long as you think. So that's another one, is just keeping on top of that. And I also make a little bit of time for some networking as well. So keeping on top of social media, having a little goal of, am I making sure that we're connecting with the wider world as well? Trying to do that regularly through stories, through posts and LinkedIn and those sorts of things as well. Those are sort of ones that come off the top of my head.
Thank you. And I suppose that a lot of that, it's about balance, isn't it? In a way, it's about, you know,
Yeah.
that you have all those little cogs in the machine of running like a face-to-face business like that, and you've got the marketing and all the rest, but then there's you. And this is a lot of the reason I had you on this call today, was because as business owners, you know, and we're self-employed, like your health is everything, as we know, especially this year.
Yeah.
Your health is everything, and if you are not healthy and you feel like crap and you're not working to your best, that has a massive impact on your work. A massive impact.
It does. It does, absolutely. And it's probably really marked because we are standing up in front of people daily,
Yeah.
helping them become fitter, healthier versions of themselves. And it would not do brilliant advertising, I think, if we weren't standing up doing that.
Yeah.
I don't know how confident the people that come to our gym or come for nutrition support would feel in our ability to coach them through that if we weren't demonstrating it ourselves. But also just from the point of view of actually engaging with people and giving the best of ourselves in actually being able to explain things well. You know, if we're not sleeping well, if we're not fueling ourselves appropriately and moving well, it's very difficult for us to demonstrate what we want people to do, you know, in a gym setting. It's maybe more difficult for us to have that sort of cognitive connection to actually be able to explain away. And, you know, if you think about what it's like when you're feeling rough, sitting doing something is always going to be harder, isn't it? You know, if you whatever it might be. So as much as we can look after our own personal well-being, there's just so many positive benefits for everybody else that we interact with as well. Yeah. And if it's in a business setting, then it's going to be much more positive, you know, for our own sort of business interactions too.
Totally.
Totally.
Thank you so much. And you mentioned we're getting near the end of our time now, but you mentioned there that you have you have the CrossFit gym. But for people who aren't based, you're in Ballycastle in County Antrim, but for people who aren't based in Northern Ireland, could you just let everybody know about the one-to-one calls that you can do online? So no matter where you are in the world, you can contact Sarah as well.
For sure.
Time.
Yeah, absolutely. So my nutrition services that I offer can be delivered just like we're doing this. You know, I don't have to be physically in contact with people to be able to help them achieve their goals. I've had a number of clients in all different places. I have someone at the moment in Bahrain. I have recently been working with someone in Scotland. You know, it really doesn't matter. I have a number of one-to-one packages that involve consultation to really understand the person's goals. It can be any health-related goals. You know, yes, a lot of people do come to me who would like to shed a few pounds of fat, but that's not the only thing. I work with people on improving their performance at their sport in the gym, perhaps women who are expecting or who are, you know, post having their baby. Help them think about good nutrition for them and how to, you know, look after their bodies as best as they can. I also work with people who are at different ages and stages, you know, throughout our life cycle. So there really isn't one particular group of people. And it really just comes down to us finding out what your goal is, and we can work through on varying lengths of package as well. So I mentioned the 21-day one earlier on. I have a 40-day and a 90-day as well, depending on the amount of support that you require and would be looking for. So,
excellent. And I'll share all the links for those as well. But thank you so much. That was super interesting, and I hope
not at all. It's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for asking me.
And you know, you mentioned at the start as well about, and I think that was my issue as well, that when you have some kind of fitness goal like that, it can seem very overwhelming, but it is that fact of breaking it all down and looking at the small parts and doing and making the habits and doing little steps every day, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. And I guess it's like falling in love with the process, you know.
Yes.
It's realizing that the process isn't there to inhibit you, or to tie you down. It's actually, it is the work, you know.
Yeah.
It is the journey, and by engaging with that and allowing yourself to see the sort of causal link between those day-to-day small habits, and the big picture and where you're wanting to go, you know, then that enables you to go, not, oh, I've got to do this. It's like, okay, I'm doing this because, you know,
Yeah.
and there's the reason for it. So
Yes.
yeah,
And
that's the magic.
magic, and even with, so what I did, the Tiny Life 4-week challenge, and now it's really good because someone has invited us to go on a walking holiday at the start of October, and then I think that's great because that's another goal, that's a higher goal,
Yeah,
and because I've started
that's
on this
it.
kind of, the fitness journey, and I feel a bit better and definitely a lot fitter. That I think, okay, well, I'll keep going, I'll keep exercising, and then I got that goal, and then who knows, it might be
Yeah.
next year.
That's brilliant. That's so good, because I think we get to a point where we only really seem to set ourselves goals in work. You know, we're
Yeah,
sort of, particularly if we work for a larger organization, we have our personal development plans and things like that. Well, why not have goals out of work as well? You know, that makes our leisure time really exciting and
yeah,
productive, and, you know, sort of challenges us. You know, we want to sort of keep that challenge as well, because learning new things is, they all contribute to our well-being, you know, and keeping the grey matter ticking over too.
totally, totally.
Yeah, it's good, really good.
Thank you so much. And for anybody who's listening to the replay, as I said at the start, if you missed it, you can, you put your questions or comments, and myself or Sarah will get back to you, depending what your question is after you've posted them. Okay.
Lovely.
So thank you so much, Sarah. I
Not
hope it
at
cools
all.
down a wee bit for your next indoor gym session.
Thank you. Yeah, 5 o'clock's going to be warm.
Yeah, it's going to be warm. I think I'm just going to stay inside today as long as I can. As long as I can. I was out early, so I'll be out later. Excellent.
Oh,
Okay, thank you so much.
great job.
Okay, thank
All
you.
right, see you
Bye
soon.
bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.